Have you ever thought, I wish school could actually nurture what my kid is passionate about? Well, with K 12 powered schools, it absolutely can. Whether your child is obsessed with coding, dreams of being an artist, loves digging into science experiments, or even wants to start their own business, K 12 creates a learning experience built around them. This isn't your typical online learning. K 12 is a tuition free, accredited online public school for grades K through 12. They've got certified teachers trained in online instruction and over 25 years of experience helping kids grow in the direction they want to go. And the flexibility, absolutely life changing. School can happen whenever there's internet, home, grandma's, or even on the road for that midweek family trip because learning shouldn't stop when life happens. So if your kid has a spark, something that they light up talking about, give them the space to explore it. See why more than 3 million families have chosen K 12 to empower their students. Go to k12.com/NGM today to learn more. That's the letter K, the number 12.com/NGM. K12.com/NGM. Welcome to the No Guilt Mom podcast. I am your host, Joanne Crone, and we're digging in today to something that I found so personally fascinating. It is all about the science of happiness because who doesn't want to be more happy, right? Like, especially as a mom, when we have so much stress on us day to day. I mean, I just got off rainbow planning with our balance community, and I was looking at my next week's schedule, and happiness is not the first word that comes to mind when I look at my schedule for next week. It's usually stress, a little bit of overwhelmed. I did feel confident after putting it all on the calendar, but how do we cultivate those feelings of happiness more versus looking at our unending to-do list and even like this little shift of how our genetics and how our upbringing affects our happiness? And to do that, I have a fabulous guest that's joining us today. Her name is Tia Graham. She's a leadership coach, a positive psychology expert, a TED speaker, and founder of Arrive at Happy. She's worked with companies like Marriott and Hewlett Packard, and her insights have been featured in CNN, Forbes, and Well and Good. She's also the author of the book Be a Happy Leader, where she shares science-backed strategies to boost joy and success at work and beyond. And she's going to be sharing some of those science-backed strategies with you today. So with that, let's get on with the show. Welcome, Tia, to the podcast. I am so excited to have you on. We've chatted before on like IG Live, and I just think like you are such a wealth of information when it comes to happiness, and everything you say about it, I'm like, yes. So welcome to the podcast.
Thank you. I'm really happy being here with you today.
It's the theme. You're really happy to be
Yes.
here. So let's dig into this science of happiness because I want to know, like, what does the research actually say about why some people appear to be happier than others?
Yes. So the research shows that the biggest factor for our happiness is our genetics and our genetic history. So if you think about your parents, your grandparents, it's not just the family above you, right? It's this whole genetic history. That's the biggest component. And there's not an exact number. And of course, the research always changes as scientists learn more, but it shows that 60 to 70% of our happiness and well being is from our genetics, which means
Whoa,
that
that's huge.
huge, which means that some people, about 8% of the population, is genetically predisposed to be quite happy most of the time. And
Uh-huh.
that also means that unfortunately, people are genetically predisposed to be unhappier. And for some people, it may look like, extreme cases of, let's say you have chronic depression or schizophrenia or bipolar disorder, all of these different things, right? That extremely affect happiness and, create a lot of unhappiness. And then, of course, it's, there's a bunch of people in the middle as well. So That's the biggest factor, and a lot of people don't recognize that, right? So,
Yeah.
if you have someone in your family or if you are someone that's not super happy all the time naturally, give yourself compassion and give other people compassion because that's a lot out of our control, right? So,
Right, and I'm thinking, like, in my own control state, like, 60 to 70% are naturally predisposed to be happy. How can you tell if you're not one of those 60 to 70%? Is it that you have chronic depression?
So scientists use scales and basically it's subjective well-being scales. And what scientists believe is that the best person to measure your happiness is you. And
Okay.
so it's actually rating on, questions on how you felt over the last, few weeks, et cetera. And there's
Got
and
it.
there's certain questions. And if you'd like, I can share that with your audience and
Yeah,
so everyone can
let's
do.
do these questions so people can do it.
Yeah, what I'll do is we'll put it as one of the links for the show notes so so people can do it. So that's a factor. Another factor is our environment. So for example, I use like extreme examples. Like let's say you're a lawyer, you work 60 hours a week, you live in New York City, and you're married with a baby living in the Upper East Side. There's a lot in your environment, right? All different things
Absolutely.
versus a mom who's living in a very rural area in China. Maybe she has 5 kids, maybe she works outside all the time. And if you think about environment, it's not just your home, it's also your community, it's also the society, the government that you're living within. The World Happiness Report shows the happiest people on earth are in Scandinavia, like in Finland and Norway and Denmark. And a lot of that
Always
is
fascinated by
the
that, yeah.
societal environment, right? Like it's a socialist country, everyone's taken care of, et cetera. So just to know that it's not all on you. But what's amazing, and this is the key point, and this is what I've been writing about and speaking about, and I teach working moms, is about the agency that you do have. And there are thousands of research papers on things that you can do to become happier. And what it shows is that people have agency over their thinking and over their behaviors.
Ooh,
And
I love
so,
that. So, thinking and behaviors. Before we get into, like, what people can do with the agency, I wanna talk a little bit more about that environment thing because I've also seen people in Scandinavia are so much happier, and the thing that really stuck in my mind a few years ago is I was reading Dr. Gabor Mate's book, The Myth of Normal. Are you
yep,
familiar with that book?
I'm familiar with the book. I haven't read that one, but I've heard him speak lots. And yeah, he's incredible.
You probably heard what he said, where if a lot of people are struggling, like, and equating it to science. So if like you have a specimen and all of the specimens and all of the different petri dishes are struggling, you don't blame the specimens. You actually blame the culture that they're in, like the
Right.
actual
The
petri dish they're
environment.
in,
Right.
the environment. And what you say is like our environment has such an effect on our happiness. And what I'm wondering is like, first of all, I wanna give all of the moms out there I wanna console them because I just got off the phone with a mom yesterday who actually quit her job as a nurse because she was working those long 50 to 60-hour weeks, and then she was coming home and, like, she had no patience for her kids, no patience for her family, and she
Yeah.
just
All the
felt like, oh,
energy went to work.
all the energy went to work, and she felt so incredibly guilty about that. And also, on the other hand, she needs an income and a job to actually help. What's your understanding of that when you have this environment that you cannot get out of?
Yeah.
What can you do?
Yeah. We could talk about this for 3 hours. Like recognizing that our environment within the United States, because I think most listeners are within the United States, does not support moms, does not support
Mm-mm.
work. Now, are there some organizations that do? Absolutely. But generally, right, it's not supported. And so understanding that, right? And a lot of us don't have like a village with the grandmas living by and all this support from family, et cetera. And so I think your question is knowing that there are these constraints and restrictions and like, we don't get a year paid maternity and all these different things that other countries like Canada, Australia, Europe provide to moms.
And let me just say, like, as a United States citizen, when I heard that, I'm like, "They get what?" and
Yeah,
you
my
feel
sisters
so
both took a
gypped.
year paid because I'm born and raised in Canada.
Well, you got a year paid. That's unbelievable. And, like,
Yeah,
I know that in countries like Denmark, they actually view signs of stress and burnout as a serious medical problem, and they give leave off work, paid leave off work for that as
yeah,
well.
and they also align, like, the school hours and work hours. They understand that there's family needs, and yeah, it seems like common sense, like, yeah, you would want have everybody working. And if, like the mom you just talked to, or many working moms that I talk to, if there are constraints, or, if I was the same as the mom yesterday, I had a corporate job when I had both my kids, I was working full time, leading a big sales and marketing team in a hotel. And I felt that pull, right? Of like, I want to
Right.
be home, but I also have this career, and we need my salary, and we need insurance, and all the things. My recommendation is to either on your own or with a friend or maybe with a coach is to really pause and take time to look back at all the different aspects of your life and get really, really clear on what you want and how you want to feel, how you want to spend your time, understanding that we don't operate like Scandinavia, right? There are
Right.
things that happen in the United States, but knowing that you do have agency. And I always say there's always more choices and pathways than you think and that you see. A lot of times it's like, oh, have this job or be a stay-at-home mom. And it's like, no, there's actually lots of options. And if you take time, especially with another person, to brainstorm and think about, different ways of working, it doesn't have to be, one or the other.
I wanna, like, take a second and go into that pause, because if you listening out there, you hear Tia say, "Okay, pause," and you might not even know what you can reprioritize in your life because it all seems important. We're gonna get into that right after this.
This episode is brought to you by Progressive Insurance. Fiscally responsible, financial geniuses, monetary magicians. These are things people say about drivers who switch their car insurance to Progressive and save hundreds. Visit progressive.com to see if you could save. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Potential savings will vary. Not available in all states or situations.
I got a skylight frame for my family, and let me tell you, it is now one of my favorite things in our house. I loaded it with photos from our vacations and photos of when my kids were younger and doing silly things. And my husband adds to it as well with photos from his phone. So it's this huge collaborative effort. And walking by our skylight frame in my kitchen each morning, it always makes me smile. So imagine gifting that same feeling. You can preload a skylight frame with tons of your favorite photos so that when your loved one opens it, it's already filled with memories. It's personal, it's meaningful, and honestly, it's way better than another scented candle. And here's the best part. It's so easy to use. No app, no subscription, no tech stress. You simply send your photos to the frame's email address and they pop up. So right now, Skylight is offering our listeners $20 off their 10-inch frames by going to myskylight.com/NGM. Go to myskylight.com/NGM for $20 off your 10-inch frame. That's myskylight.com/NGM. You know, the holidays are supposed to be joyful, but let's be honest, between travel, gifts, hosting family, and all the last minute school events, it gets real chaotic. And somewhere in all that chaos, my budget used to completely disappear. But not this year, because I've got Monarch. Monarch is this amazing all-in-one personal finance tool. It was named the best budgeting app of 2025 by the Wall Street Journal. And once I started using it, I immediately saw how fast my holiday spending was adding up. I had no idea how close I was to blowing my budget already. Monarch connects everything: spending, savings, investments, even your home value in one clean, easy interface. So no spreadsheets, just real control. And right now, Monarch is offering 50% off your first year just for No Guilt Mom listeners. Don't let financial opportunity slip through the cracks. Use code NOGUILT at monarch.com in your browser for half off your first year. That's 50% off your first year at monarch.com with code NOGUILT. So, Tia, right before the break, we were talking about if you are in that environment where you're totally stressed out and overwhelmed, to take that pause and really go through it with somebody and figure out how to reprioritize your life. So often, just through coaching and through our program here at No Guilt Mom, I see moms in this very same situation. And the first question is, okay, well, how do I reprioritize if everything seems equally important? What would you say to a mom like that?
Yes. Well, first of all, I see you and I understand you, and you're not doing anything wrong, is the first thing I would say. And the next is to think about your life 12 months from now. Get really clear on what your current life is like, and then think about 12 months from now. And how would you like your weekdays, your evenings, and your weekends to look like? And how do you want to feel?
Mm.
And that could be a journaling exercise, that could be a talking exercise. Also, to write down what are your top 5 or 7 values. And Brene Brown has a great values list, that you can download. And for most listening, their moms, I'm pretty sure in the top 3 is going to be family. And then you're going to figure out what are those other ones.
Yeah.
And the key, which I'll say this is the part that's not easy, is to separate yourself from all of the shoulds, from the shoulds of society, what a mom or what a working mom should live like, what your
Mm.
house, what your parents think you should be doing, or your siblings, or your friends, or who you follow on. There's so many shoulds, and
There
way
are.
more
There are so
shoulds to
many.
moms than dads. Way more. Way,
Way
way, way more.
more. Way more should. So, what I'm hearing is during this pause, first, think about what you want your life to look like
A year from now. Yeah.
a year from now. When you think about that life a year from now, what's like a scenario that comes to mind? Because I think of my life for a year from now, and I would like to not be as busy. Like, I would like to be calmer. I would like to have things that I do for fun that aren't connected to work at all. What comes to your mind, Tia, for your life?
Yeah, so those are great, and probably so many people listening can relate. For my life, a year from now, I would say one of the things that comes to mind is more time working in person with other adults.
Ooh,
Because I'm
yes.
very, very extroverted, and I used to lead sales teams for 14 years, and so I work from home, and I love the flexibility. My husband works from home. But I want more in-person adult time, different than going out for dinner with girlfriends or going for a hike with friends, but actually more in-person working. That's one thing that comes to mind because I'm an extroverted person and I get energy
Yeah.
from people.
I get that too. I'm a little ambivert. I get a little bit too much from people, and then I have to go into my cave and recoup just a little bit,
Yeah.
and then I'm back out and at it. So,
Yeah.
like, I love that you have in your vision that you wanna work more around other people and spend more time with other people. So, we kind of have our visions for what we want our life to look like in a year. And the second step, was it values that you said to go through?
Yes. Yes. To get clear. So I have mine in a few different places in my home. So there's a post-it here, and I have family, happiness, connection, hope, learning, and purpose.
Okay.
And so our calendars, talking about the overwhelm and the stress as moms,
Yeah.
kids and house. And if you work now, all moms work, right? There's some paid work, some unpaid work. We're
Mhm.
busy all the time. And my advice is to look at the alignment between your calendar and your values and how you want to feel.
Mhm. Absolutely.
Right? So you're saying you wanna
Yes.
be calmer, you wanna have more fun, you wanna have more joy, and I also heard that you want more space. You don't wanna be so busy.
Yes.
And how we set up our calendars is how we experience our life,
Well,
right?
that's like a mic drop moment right there because I know that so many moms out there are just focused on the next thing on the to do list because you feel like you have so many things to do. But when you intentionally plan out your calendar and you know what you're going to say no to based on your values, based on what you want your life to look like, you can have a lot more confidence and actually know that you're living a life that's filled with your values. And on the other hand, Tia, I know you mentioned there are some things in us that are inherent because of either genetics we've inherited or
Yeah.
things that we've learned. Like,
Yeah,
how
our
might a mom
upbringing.
start in our upbringing? Yes. So, how might a mom start identifying which of those habits she has that may be working contrary to what she wants?
So, a happy life, according to positive psychologists, which is the science of happiness, a happy life is about having more of those positive emotions than painful emotions. But there's no
Mm,
such thing as happy all the time, happy habits all the time.
yes. I
It's
think that's a
also
really important differentiator, by
oh,
the
I say
way.
it in my TED talk. I'm like, there is no such thing as happy all the time,
Mhm.
which a
Yeah,
lot of
because like,
people strive for that.
pain is a part of life,
It's
right?
a
Like,
part of
learning
being
to
human.
accept the pain is actually a key to being happier because you're not, like, fighting against it so much.
And if you try to be happy all the time, it's actually going to make you less happy. You're not accepting the pain and suffering that is part of being human. And
Right.
I'll say happiness is also about purpose and meaning.
Uh-huh.
And it's about having different experiences that make you psychologically rich. So, more positive than pain, meaning and purpose, and different experiences that make you wiser or psychologically rich. So, to answer your question about really looking at what habits and what routines and rituals do I do that maybe might be hurting my happiness,
Uh-huh.
I would use how they make you feel as the indicator, right?
Okay.
So, a habit of, let's use a very relevant one, a habit of putting your kids to bed, sitting on the couch, and scrolling on social media for an hour.
Uh-huh.
Does that make you feel energized and calmer and like inspired because you're falling or
No.
does it make you feel like, "Oh my god, everyone's life is better than mine. Everyone is happier than me. Everyone has a nicer house than me and goes on better vacations." Like, so that's example. If that's a habit, how does it make you feel, right? And so for
Right.
me, going hiking, doing yoga, lifting weights, going out with girlfriends, reading, playing music, like I have all of these things that I know that make me feel better. Date nights, right?
Yes.
And then, there are some like sometimes I will go on social media and then afterwards I'm like, oh, put the phone in the kitchen. Don't even bring it upstairs because I know it's addictive. And, we also use it for work and things like that.
Right. The stress just piles up when, like, you see all your phone messages. And
Yeah.
I love actually how you've articulated this, Tia, because I had something that happened to me this past Monday where I realized that I had a habit that was interfering with my happiness.
Ooh, you got to tell
And
her.
it was so I recently joined an improv class because I'm looking for things that make me joyful, and
That's
it
awesome.
makes me so joyful. But after this improv class, some of the class members were like, "Let's go out to dinner all together." And it was like 8 p.m. It ended, and I was tired. My first inclination was like, "No, I need to go home because my kids, quote unquote, need me." Now,
Yeah.
my kids are 12 years old and 16 years old. They really don't need me. And my husband was home too. So they were home with an adult. But it was such a habit to just do that. And I knew that if I did that, I probably would have just, said a few words to them and then go watch Netflix for 2 hours,
Wait, so the
honestly.
habit is to say no.
The habit is to say no immediately, no to something that does not involve my kids because I feel like my kids need me and
Oh
I,
my
quote
God. I bet
unquote,
you a
should be home.
million. Yes. So many people can relate to that.
Yeah. I actually like, I didn't even make up my mind until we were walking to the Chili's, but I ended up spending 2 hours out. I got to know my classmates better, learned some things about them, and I came home so happy and fulfilled. Tired, but happy and fulfilled, which I know Netflix usually doesn't bring me.
Okay. You just gave an example of the number one predictor of happiness, according to the neuroscience and psychology of happiness or well being. The number one predictor of happiness is human connection.
Mm,
Spending time with people you care about and who care about you. And moms usually put the most time with kids and then maybe followed by spouse, or of course, I know there's single moms listening too, right? I will say for 99% of moms, your kids can't fill this bucket of human connection. We need other humans too, like friends or
right.
family or new improv. I love that story so much.
And I think that needs to be repeated again. You need other people than your kids and family for human connection.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, and investing in it, right? It's truly,
Right.
and this goes back to our calendar, scheduling it, making it a priority. And especially when you're going through challenging times, when you're super chronically stressed, or you're really overwhelmed, or you're full of guilt, or you're so resentful and angry at your spouse, right? All these different things, or your job is driving you insane, especially when you are unhappy and suffering, full of anxiety, leaning into human connection. The research shows like this plus journaling are the two ways to help you process that pain. And, journaling can support you, and human connections will support you. But
Ooh, and I love those practices, and I wanna get into more of those practices that have the science behind them right after this.
Does it ever feel like you're a marketing professional just speaking into the void? But with LinkedIn ads, you can know you're reaching the right decision makers, a network of 130 million of them, in fact. You can even target buyers by job title, industry, company, seniority, skills, and did I say job title? See how you can avoid the void and reach the right buyers with LinkedIn ads. Spend $250 on your first campaign and get a free $250 credit for the next one. Get started at linkedin.com/campaign. Terms and conditions apply.
When the holidays start to feel a bit repetitive, reach for a Sprite Winter Spiced Cranberry and put your twist on tradition. A bold cranberry and winter spice flavor fusion, Sprite Winter Spiced Cranberry is a refreshing way to shake things up this sipping season. And only for a limited time. Sprite, obey your thirst.
Oh, Hilton stay, your beds are soft and cozy. No lumpy couch, no stiff futon, no shower line at crack of dawn. Oh, Hilton stay.
When you want holiday comfort you can count on, it matters where you stay. Enjoy comfortable rooms and friendly service when you stay with Hilton instead. Save up to 25% this season when you book with Hilton. Hilton for the stay. Terms apply.
Tia, right before the break, we were talking about practices that actually help you be happy. And the last thing you mentioned was journaling. And I want to dig into that more because in my work with moms, there's a huge resistance to journaling, a huge resistance. Like people are told to journal and then they're like, no, I just don't journal. I'm not a journaler. So, can you lay out a little bit like what does journaling look like if you are trying to make yourself feel more happiness?
yeah. So there's lots of different types of journaling. And basically, the research shows that anytime you pause and prioritize writing what you are thinking, what you are feeling, writing what you are grateful about, writing about your goals and your dreams, anytime you take time to write about your present, your desired future, I always like to think of it as your painful emotions and your experiences are like water in your body.
Okay.
And we could talk also about the mind body connection. But so our emotions and all our experience are in our body. And when we are talking to another person about what we're going through,
Mhm.
or think of it like you're talking to the paper with writing. You also can speak it out, right, into your phone. There's different ways that you can write. It's like you are having the water move through the river, right? As opposed to being like dammed up inside of you and you are just holding it in and then you have chronic back pain or you snap at your husband every day or it's going to come out somehow.
Uh-huh.
But when we journal and when we, talk, there's like this processing that's happening that is really, really supportive for our psychological well being, our emotional well being, our relational well being. The research shows it makes us feel happier.
So when you journal, you're writing down your future dreams and goals, how you want your life to look like, plus the painful experience as well, just to process that and get it out.
One type of journaling is gratitude journaling. So I have a gratitude journal in my bathroom and I write 3 times a week, approximately, what I'm grateful for. And the research shows that if you are consistently doing gratitude journaling, you're going to be happier because you're going to focus more on what you have than what you don't have.
Okay.
And a very important point is that our brains are plastic. Neuroplasticity and neurogenesis. We can grow new brain cells. We can grow helpful neural pathways or unhelpful neural pathways. And so you are never stuck. You can always change. So another type of journaling is when you are experiencing a lot of pain, right? Maybe your kid is suffering, you're suffering, and you're sad or you're anxious or you're angry or you're resentful or you feel stuck, right? There's like 80 plus painful emotions, and you can journal about what you're going through. And
Okay.
think about that is helpful, just like if you were to go talk to a therapist, right? Now, of course, therapy has its own research and therapy is great. Maybe you don't have the ability to do that right now. Think about journaling as you're getting it out, right? You're not just holding it in. And what's going to happen is you have less rumination. You're getting
Right.
less
They don't
cognitive
go through your
loop.
head. Mhm.
Exactly. And so
Yes.
then you can also journal about your desired future, right? Your goals, what you're hopeful for. Like the science of hope is so cool, and how you plan for it and take action. And so really there isn't a wrong way to journal. Think of it as, just processing. And a really beautiful pair, I will say, to put with journaling is meditation.
Yes.
Meditation, there's so much research on how valuable it is for us just becoming more aware of how we're thinking, how we're feeling, how we're responding, what's going on in our body. And so maybe you sit quietly for 5 or 10 minutes and then you write.
And noticing, like, those thoughts that enter your head too. I find that the resistance to against meditation that I had as well when I first started meditation is
Me
that
too.
those thoughts just come into your head, and then all of a sudden you're connected with them and going down this path, and your meditation is stopped. And I used to be like, "Oh my gosh, I just cannot meditate." But really, like, something that I found helpful, and I want to hear what you find helpful too, Tia, in this problem, is I like to visualize, like, as soon as I see that thought enter my head, or I'm aware of that thought, that it's like I've started thinking along those lines, I picture a bubble, and I'm like taking a feather and I'm lightly tapping and popping the bubble to get me back in my meditative state. And then that doesn't cause so much of that fight and that resistance in me, and I can get
Yeah.
back to that calm peace of mind. What do you do when you have those thoughts enter your mind?
I love it. So I actually have a completely opposite perspective. When I notice that I'm not focusing on my breath anymore and I'm thinking a thought, I actually say, thank you. And I come back to my breath, because the mindfulness is noticing when you have a thought,
Mhm.
because we
Yeah,
are so connected to our thoughts, right? Our
that's
monkey
true.
mind. And so I actually expect it and assume it's going to happen so many times during a meditation. And I also really love guided meditations on the app Insight Timer, because I find those help me stay even more present than just sitting completely quiet on my own.
Yeah, it's so interesting with meditation too, because I have a lot of discussions with my husband about this topic, and we're both reading the same book right now. It's The Liberated Mind, but it's all about how those thoughts enter your brain. And he tells me that when he meditates, thoughts just don't enter his brain. Like, he doesn't have
And
those
get
thoughts.
completely present and
Complete
focused.
he's able to be completely present and focused, and he describes it that when he's meditating, he sees a bright light. Now, I have never experienced that before, and I was talking with friends, and some friends are like, "Oh, maybe he's just not aware that they're thoughts." But he has dug into this so much, and he's like, "No, I just don't have any thoughts at all." And this is something I found really, really interesting. And I just want to put that out there for the audience, that maybe they're in a similar position, or they have a spouse in the similar position where the thoughts are just not entering their mind. Like, have you heard of this before, Tia?
I have never, no,
I
in
have never either.
8 years of studying the science of happiness, no, and, like,
No.
but, the Dalai Lama meditates 5 hours every morning, I think, 4 or
Mhm.
5, and so it'd be interesting if you look at the monks that meditate for long periods of time. I know, I feel like we gotta ask Jay Shetty.
There's like there's like, they do fMRIs of these monks, and they're able to
Yes,
see like
and
an
the gray
actual.
matter in their brain,
Yes.
yeah, their brains are so different, and so maybe they're able to go for long periods of time, but
Mhm.
I'm curious, is he not noticing the thoughts, or are the thoughts actually not coming? And we don't,
Yeah.
we're not
That's
inside the
what I'm
brain to
super
know.
curious too. I wanna put my
Yeah.
husband under an fMRI and get
Yeah, yeah.
and see what's going on in there. We could talk for hours on this subject, and you have given us so many great tidbits about what we can do for happiness, things like journaling and meditation that are so easy, and how we may not be predisposed to happiness and may just like need to work some of those in so that we're aligned to what we value and what we want in life. I like to end every episode on a high note, not that this whole episode hasn't been high already, but what's something that you're excited about? What are you looking forward to right now?
Oh my goodness. I'm excited that I'm going to be launching a new podcast in Q1 of 2026 called The Feel Good Club with Tia Graham for working moms. So I'm working on that and I'm really, really excited. And you're going to be a guest on it.
Yay! I'm so excited about that.
Yeah. And I'm also excited for the holiday season for that togetherness. And yeah, I will say for everyone listening, make happiness a priority, choose it, make it one of your values, and know that you can make thinking choices and behavior choices to increase your well being. Science proves that you can do it.
Excellent. That is so amazing. Thank you so much, Tia, for being with us today. And for all of you out there, remember the best mom is a happy mom. Take care of you, and we'll talk with you later. If you'd like to support the show further, you can share episodes with your loved ones, leave a positive review, or follow us on social media at No Guilt Mom. You can also show your love by visiting our amazing podcast sponsors. We have a link in the show notes.
Hey, Ryan Reynolds here. Wishing you a very happy half-off holiday because right now Mint Mobile is offering you the gift of 50% off unlimited. To be clear, that's half price, not half the service. And Mint is still premium unlimited wireless for a great price. So that means a half day, yeah?
Give it a try at mintmobile.com/switch.
Upfront payment of $45 for 3-month plan, equivalent to $15 per month required. New customer offer for first 3 months only. Speed slow after 35 gigabytes if network's busy. Taxes and fees extra. See mintmobile.com.